Thanks, guys. First of all, I'd really like to thank the veterans for hosting us here. You gentlemen are an inspiration to us. Even today I learned something new, and your service inspires us to what we can do to make our country great. I have a pamphlet up front. This is sort of a tie back to American history. A lot of you are familiar with Thomas Paine's Common Sense. It was the best-selling book in the United States prior to the American Revolution. Thomas Paine published it to inspire people as to why the colonists should break away from a government that oversaw a country that had become too massive, a government that oversaw people they were removed from, a government that was implementing taxation without representation. I think the analogies between what Thomas Paine inspired us to and what we need to do now to reclaim our country are pretty clear. Why am I running for office? I can point to one very specific thing that made me say, I need to go out there and change things. When the National Defense Authorization Act was passed at the beginning of this year, they suspended habeas corpus. What that means is that they can now hold you without right to a speedy trial. You can be seized for just suspicion of terrorism. Why do they do that? The argument is that it makes you safer because they have to chase terrorists. This is troubling. However, previously, in the Bush administration, they suspended posse comitatus, which is the rule that prevents the Army from operating on American shore, on American soil. These two things combined is a perfect example of how government gets things wrong. One act here, one act here. The two things together means now that if you are an American citizen, and the Army suspects you of terrorism, in your house, they can seize you. No warrant required, no right to an attorney, no right to a speedy trial. My parents came to the United States from Russia in 1900. My grandparents, sorry. They came here seeking economic freedom. They came here seeking religious freedom. They came here because they understood that there was a right that they were entitled to speak their mind, to live their lives the way they chose. I'm a libertarian. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. We're frequently referred to as the party of principle. But I want to change a few things that people may not know about us. Generally, people think of libertarians as anarchists. Yeah. That is not true. We do not believe in no government. We believe in a smaller government. And we believe that the way we get there is by being principled about what we say and about what we do. I'm running on my own dime. I'm not taking any corporate money. If you guys want to fill out one of those donation cards, that's fine. But I only want individual donations. And the reason why is because I feel like, at this point in time, the government is bought. I have a thing that I like to say that I call arrogantly Fishman's Law. In the beginning, the government created the corporation so that businesses could make more money. But what we have now is corporations creating governments so that businesses can make more money. The only way this is going to change is for the average person to stand up and run for office. And that's what I am. I am not a professional politician. I have never run for office before in my life. But I believe that the only way things can change is for the average person to stand up and run. And that's what I'm doing. I have a couple specific things I want to talk about. I think the biggest problem facing this country right now is jobs. I think that there's a very easy way that government can get out of people's way, and we can put a lot of people back to work very quickly. There are over 20 million small businesses in the United States that have no employees whatsoever. If you want to have one employee, the amount of paperwork to start having employees is the same whether you have one employee or whether you're Walmart. Now, if you're Walmart, you have to do it 1,000,000 times, but that first initial batch of paperwork is the same. If we were to allow small businesses to implement what I'm calling the first 3 are free, let the first 3 employees come in and they're contractors, so that they handle all of their own paperwork, and then the company doesn't have to do anything except for write them a check. That makes it very easy and a lot more affordable for a small business to hire one employee. If even half of those 20 million small businesses with no employees were to employ one person, we would see a giant jump in employment. More employment helps the country in so many ways. Obviously, people can afford more things, there's more consumerism, but more than that, it puts pressure on wages because it creates a shortage of workers. When there's a shortage of workers, employment goes up even more. Government is filled with unintended consequences. At one point in time, people thought, they knew the numbers, they said, more people who go to college, those people are going to make more money, we'll give a better life for them. How can we make them go to college? What happened was government started giving out loans. seems innocent enough, but of course the unintended consequence is now the colleges realize, oh, we can charge a little bit more because now more people can afford to go to college. And then of course, when more people can afford to go to college, more people did go to college, colleges again said, oh, we can raise tuition again. I have seen this happen firsthand. I currently work in Andover, but previously I worked at an academic institution who, when budget wasn't there, they raised tuition. We can change that. What would we do if we took the government out of the educational cycle? Colleges would not be able to charge an unsustainable rate. Now, one of the things I want to say is think about what's happening right now in Massachusetts with the Affordable Care Act. Right now, they're trying to say we control the way that people get paid. And so we are going to control costs by saying we're only going to pay so much for this. Can you imagine the outrage among academics if we said, oh, we control how colleges get paid. We're going to squeeze them. It would be turmoil. Universities and colleges and professors would be furious. How dare you tell us how much our money is worth? But if we say we want to pay what we think healthcare is worth, oh, forget about it. Then we're stepping on people's rights. One of the important things about being a candidate who's a party of principle is that sometimes I'm going to say things to you that you don't like to hear. Because I feel like if I'm defending liberty, I have to defend all the liberty, even for the things that I don't like. And that's an important thing because majorities come and go. Sometimes it's going to be conservative, sometimes it's going to be libertarian. We don't want to have a government where the majority can take away our rights. The founders understood this when they wrote the Constitution. They said that there is a guarantee of a freedom of speech. They said that there is a guarantee of your right to bear arms. The Second Amendment, Mike. They said that there is a guarantee that you will have freedom of religion. And what does that freedom of religion mean? One of the things I like to talk about is I say, I was raised Jewish. I cannot go into a Catholic church and say, I need you to perform a Jewish wedding right now. We wouldn't do it, it's absurd. And yet, some people would call that discrimination. We're talking about marriage equality in this country, but nobody's talking about the fact that we do have a guarantee of a protection of religion. We need to separate what is legal and what is religious. One of the first things that I would do in going to Congress is that I would propose a national civil union. Anybody who wants to file taxes together has to get that civil union. I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're straight, whatever. If you want to file taxes together, you have to get that civil union. Then I'd like to see a return to holy matrimony. We've heard that phrase before in a million movies. They now join you together in holy matrimony. And that's a church function. If your church wants to marry people, that's fine. If your church doesn't want to marry people, that's fine. The same Constitution that guarantees us equal protection under the law guarantees us freedom of religion. And so if your religion says, these are the people that we think should get married, we should be defending that as strong as we're defending everybody else's rights to have legal protection under the law. One of the other things that is important to me is recognizing how government can be smaller. We are a country of over 300 million people right now. Think how divisive the 2004 election was. 59 million people voted against George Bush. Democrats were stunned. How could George Bush get elected again? 2008, 59 million people. The same number of people voted against Obama. Republicans were stunned. How could he get elected? If the nature of our government is such that it requires that almost half the country, 140 million people, live under a government that they do not agree with, that they are unhappy with, the government may be too large. It may be too monolithic. We were meant to be 50 states united, not 50 unified states. And one of the most important things that I can do when I go to Washington is to try to make us understand that we are not meant to be one giant country. One size does not fit all. That's why I'm running for office. Thank you very much for your time.